My friends, for more than 9 years, we have chronicled the federal government's giant, unconstitutional, 10th Amendment violating power grab that is the TSA. More than 8 years ago, I read federal documents and also witnessed the head of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, admit that in America, to have a job, to drive a car, to have a driver's license, to be able to travel anywhere or go to a national park, that you would need federal approval as a, quote, trusted traveler. Over 2 million Americans are now on the no-fly list. They're expanding it to a no-gun-buy list. No jury, no judge, no conviction. You're just put on these lists. Now the TSA and Homeland Security, along with Chucky Schumer, are pushing a no-travel list on trains, buses. Homeland Security has come out and announced that they're going to have TSA at checkpoints on major highways, not just bus terminals and train stations. This is all a strategic rollout in the name of security. Why everyone must be safe everywhere, and it's the federal government's job to stick their hands down your pants, your children's pants, your wife or husband's pants, and to grab your wife and children's genitals in the name of safety. This is all about training you to accept total tyranny. There's been a big new development. A federal judge out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ruled that the TSA needed to run security at the schools and at school proms to make sure that the school officials, the authorities, not the servants, were carrying the searches out properly. That's right, a group of people who, outside of law and federal jurisdiction, have been caught stealing money from people, who've been caught engaged in pedophilia, who put you through the naked body scanners and then grope 1-year-old babies and 6-year-old girls. They are now going to certify your local police and private security and say, hey, we're the federal government and we say you can stick your hands down people's pants at the prom. Now, they announced out in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that last Saturday they would be there a few days ago, sticking the hands down the pants. But for some reason, the TSA backed off and didn't show up. But never fear, they had the state police there groping people. So the message is this: you're not allowed to congregate anywhere in land of the free, home of the brave, unless federally approved goons are there groping you.
No TSA agents at one Santa Fe prom tonight, despite a federal judge's ruling saying there had to be.
Santa Fe District Superintendent Bobby Gutierrez says instead of TSA agents, the court is allowing them to use state police for this evening.
This is the new America. They want in your personal space. They want to prepare you with these federal grants for the police to take blood at warrantless DWI checkpoints, to have forced inoculations on children outside of law, as they got caught a few years ago doing with elementary school students, and the flu inoculations. It is the antithesis of freedom. It is a 180-degree polar opposite from any basic liberty. And it sells the idea that if you give up your liberty, the government's going to keep you safe. This is a huge power grab. It's a federal power grab. And it's wrong, and it's becoming absurdist, so ridiculous, it's hard to even believe the headlines. TSA to oversee searches at Santa Fe prom. And then a few days later, no TSA agents at prom, despite court ruling. What are federal courts doing, saying, by God, we need to make sure these searches of the kids are being done properly. Let's send in our crack teams of TSA agents to grope their genitals. Doesn't matter how many states pass laws against this, the feds say it's their prerogative to do it. Why do we even have states then if the feds claim there's no 10th Amendment? How did land of the free, home of the brave get to the point where the TSA, under a federal court ruling, is saying they're the great arbiters of security and that they have to have a TSA representative at a school prom to make sure the searches are done properly and everybody's safe? This is a monopoly on security, a monopoly on reality, and it makes no sense. No one can keep you totally safe. No one can wave a magic wand and ensure nothing will ever happen to you. But that's what the nanny state is pushing. Well, who protects us from the cops killing us with tasers? Who protects us from the cops throwing homeless people out of wheelchairs and slamming their head in the ground? Who protects us from tyranny of the state? That's always been the big threat. But in this bizarre 1984 world, the federal judge said, well, there's been complaints about kids being groped at school, so we'll send the TSA as the experts to teach them how to do it. That's like saying, hey, you know, this guy beat his wife, so let's send a serial killer to teach him how to really deal with her. You know, he'll chop her head off. Federal goons are there to run the frisking of high school students. Now, the TSA backed down this time. They said because, you know, they couldn't get their people in line, and so the state police did it. The point is, they're going to be back, and this is being rolled out everywhere. It's up to us to say no.
Security consultant David Bohm says the future could include security checkpoints entering all soft targets, like your local department store.
Every day, millions of Americans come to places like this.
Crowds of people, open doors, arrivals, departures.
It's the sort of security we've seen a lot of since 9/11. Now, here at the bus station.
Teaming up to keep your family safe.
You guys came off the train, right? We all came off the train.
America is being converted to a servile, dumbed-down population who is conditioned to having secret police have us line up and answer questions and put their hands all over our body and grope our babies, our wives, our children. What the hell? How did we get to this point? Of course the criminals in government are staging the terror attacks. Of course they staged the Gulf of Tonkin. Of course they're rolling this out as the pretext to take over society while the offshore banks that finance our politicians steal tens of trillions of dollars. Think about this. What's coming next?
Non-invasive sensors measure behavioral and physiological indications of malintent for everything from large sporting events, border crossings, or airports.
If you see something, say something.
Today the airports, tomorrow the world. They are taking over every facet of society, and they've said on record it's their plan. You have a choice to make. Are you going to let federal goons stick their hands down your pants, fondle your body at highway checkpoints and at school proms? Are you going to turn yourself over to this tyranny? Are you going to allow these psychopaths, these criminals that have staged terror attacks on record to take control of our society in the name of security? Or are we going to stand up against these people? Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the sites, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.